One congressman who kicked off his December by defending Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth against war crimes is already having some major regrets, just like so many women both men have known over the years. Funny how that works. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish, and happy Cyber Monday. I hope your Thanksgiving weekend was as fun and gluttonous as my own. And speaking of deadly sins, that brings us back to Trump, a clear glutton, and Pete Hegseth, whose lust has often gotten him in trouble in the past. See our other videos for more on that mess. And you know what else is a deadly sin? Murder. Over the weekend, the Washington Post ran a bombshell report alleging that drunkard Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had committed war crimes by bombing boats in the Caribbean. Trump, of course, rushed to defend Hegseth, though he may have quickly regretted that. Here's a little overview.
Welcome back this morning. New promises of bipartisan congressional investigations into the Trump administration's strikes on alleged drug boats. A bombshell report from the Washington Post alleges Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered everyone on board a suspected drug boat be killed in September, and that as two people clung to the wreckage, a second strike was conducted to comply with the order. This is according to unnamed sources familiar with the operations. Some members of Congress say that could be tantamount to a war crime. Hegseth has denied the report outright, and President Trump says he believes him.
I don't know that happened. And Pete said he did not want them. He didn't even know what people were talking about. So we'll look into it. But no, I wouldn't have wanted that, not a second strike. I don't know. I'm going to find out about it. But Pete said he did not order the death of those two men.
And the report is the tip of the iceberg, folks. Stay with me here. So once again, this report is cutting Hegseth some slack. Numerous legal experts have already pointed out that the airstrikes on boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific are both possible war crimes as it is. The report in the Post puts that aside and points out that if Hegseth did order a second bombing of a boat on September 2nd to, quote, kill them all, that is a clear war crime. So needless to say, Congress is already buzzing over this one. Commenting this morning, Senator Angus King had this to say.
The law is clear. If the facts are as have been alleged, that there was a second strike specifically to kill the survivors in the water, that's a stone-cold war crime. It's also murder.
King's comments foreshadow a potential congressional investigation into the administration's conduct, one that could extend far beyond Pete Hegseth's orders to implicate other members of the administration, including Trump himself. So, the wise political move here would be to have Hegseth resign from the cabinet at the end of the year, thus heading off any potential investigation. But in the time of Trumpian stupidity, of course, that's not what the Republicans do. And one congressman's foolhardy attempt to defend Hegseth is already backfiring. Following the report and Trump's comments yesterday, Congressman Carlos Gimenez of Florida stopped by Fox Business this morning to share his thoughts, which were in no way well thought out. Take a look.
Congressman, there are now growing calls for an oversight hearing and investigation. Your thoughts on this?
Look, it just seems all strange to me that you get the Democrats coming out with a video saying, you know, do not follow illegal orders, and then all of a sudden you get this. Apparently, these are anonymous kind of whistleblowers. They're saying that something happened here. So, you know, I smell a rat here. I'm pretty sure that the Secretary of Defense had nothing to do with something like that, and it's just a way of you know, distracting from what really happened in D.C. You know, last week, where you had the murder of one National Guardsman and then the wounding of another by you know an Afghan refugee, and so and I think it's just a distraction. So I'm with the president on this one. I don't believe the reports. I don't believe that Pete Hegseth said that. But going back to what it's all about, this is a strike on we're striking terrorists that are bringing poison into the United States. This poison has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. And so to me, it's no different than if that was a boat full of al-Qaeda terrorists heading to the United States, you know, full of bombs. It's actually worse than that, because those drugs can actually kill far more Americans than any drug, any bomb-laden boat can.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with these strikes on these narco-terrorists.
So, Congressman Gimenez floats the idea of a conspiracy that Democrats are starting a whisper campaign to disparage Hegseth and Trump. And in another timeline, maybe that would have worked, except for one thing. This. Last night, and apparently unbeknownst to Congressman Gimenez, Pete Hegseth posted this image to Twitter. It is, of course, a parody of the popular children's book series about Franklin the Turtle, except in this case, he's targeting Venezuelan boats for death and destruction. And in the context of this story, possibly ordering a kill-them-all second strike to incinerate the survivors. Thus, Congressman Gimenez looks like a total fool, and Hegseth looks like a war criminal. Funny how that works, right? And if he has any sense at all, and I'm genuinely not sure that he does, Donald Trump will be asking Hegseth for one thing this Christmas: his resignation, gift-wrapped. And if Hegseth doesn't offer that kind of generosity, both men can look forward to blistering scrutiny next year as the Republicans try to distance themselves in an effort to not get voted out of Congress and open investigations into potential war crimes. The kind of crimes that ruin reputations, the kind of crimes that result in impeachments. See also Richard Nixon in 1974 following the bombing of Cambodia. Of course, count on us here at Occupy Democrats to keep you up to date, so remember to subscribe to our channel. It is subscriber drive time, and if you want to see Trump, Hegseth, and those other drooling goons in the administration held to account, help us fight back by subscribing and sharing our videos. It's time to push back against these violent fools, so hit that button right now. This is Occupy Democrats.